Okay, so this is an informal start to a vlog. So this social experiment is going to be me going through an entire year, sticking to no longer than 10-minute. Actually, I'm lying on that. It'll probably be closer to 15-minute, but I'm going to shoot for 5 to 10-minute intervals of recording. I had a lot more preparation in my mind for how I was going to do this. I actually had a setup that I was going to be utilizing a different camera and working through how I was going to present all this. But I decided the more preparation time I was doing, the more I was looking just to put it off. I was definitely procrastinating, and I didn't want to do that. So this is officially January 1st. It's about, 6:17 right now at night. And this is the reason I'm doing this is because there's a lot of things I ended up switching up. The podcast that I do used to be a very odd, experimental, just fun, weird thing that I was doing. And then I've redefined what that's going to be into a series of interviews that should be starting sometime right around mid to end of January. We'll see how that goes. And so I wanted to do something that was going to be more, well, essentially a video blogging aspect. I wanted it to be a record of what I go through because I was really inspired by what I did with my normal blogger site. If you followed any of the stuff that I was doing during 2022, I decided to be as open, as random, and as truthful as I possibly could be about what I went through doing shows. There's still some entries that I'm backdating and getting finished editing and stuff, but I've got some freelance that came in and some other stuff that I need to take care of. So, unfortunately, time management has become a bit of an issue for me on this. And of course, I'm going to add one more freaking thing onto it. What I decided to do was I'm going to tackle a different subject each time I do this every day. And see, and hope to God that I don't freaking go insane. I would like to be able to just kind of go through my thoughts as an artist. This isn't going to go into a deep dive on a whole bunch of things except for what may be bugging me at the moment or on my mind or something that is a triumph that I want to kind of talk through or showcase. But this is going to be a separate playlist here on YouTube as you're finding this video in that will showcase, a timeline of 64 days of effort. Fingers crossed, I am able to keep up with this. I don't want this to become one more thing that becomes cumbersome. So I will be doing some editing on this, but this is going to be a very raw vlog. And so because of that, I won't have a lot of B-roll shots that I'm aware of. I don't think I'm going to be doing that on this. There's going to be much more refined videos that will be existing on here, more new ones coming forward that are going to have a lot more of that sort of thing on here. This is me just sitting down and getting my thoughts out while I'm thinking about them while I'm in the middle of working, maybe posting about a process that I'm going through. So all that explanation aside, you guys will get the gist of it. I don't have to explain this. You people are smart. I wanted to jump into some of the things that had been on my mind. And as we enter this new year, the other thing too is this is going to be pointedly toward the creatives, but anybody can I'm not going to be using a whole bunch of industry standards or ideologies or anything else like that unless I'm explaining this shit. So one of the things that I announced not that long ago was that I am definitely edging out of doing graphic design. I'm burned out. That's not a lie. That doesn't mean I'm giving up art. Not at all. It just means I've done it for so long. When I went to college, I'll give you a little bit of a background on this. If you don't follow me on TikTok, I've talked about this as well too. When I went to college, I specifically went for a commercial illustration degree, and I got that, but I also bolstered it with a few other things. I literally went to college for 7.5 years, and I switched my major multiple times. I started as a theater major, went into Egyptology, sort of history stuff, and then I went into commercial art, which had always really been the focus, but I was like, oh God, it's going to be so hard to make it. And this was at the advent of the clip art CD coming out, and I didn't really know where I was going to go. I remember having a review with somebody from Hallmark who came to our class and took a look at my stuff, and they didn't really say anything. It was not really dismissive, but it was more just like, eh. And so I was like, well, that ship has sailed. I'll never get in there, at least not as a creative. And so then I found myself wondering how I was going to end up going down with everything creative. And I thought, I might as well get into this desktop publishing stuff that's coming out. Got into that. And so when I graduated, I knew enough about like Adobe and Illustrator. My very first version of Adobe Photoshop that I worked in was 5.5 when they introduced layers. And then I went from there and I decided to jump into whatever gig I could get first. And of course, I applied at Hallmark, got promptly rejected, and ended up illustrating for a small gaming company, a charitable pull ticket tab gaming company. Somewhere I have examples of that. Oh, that would have been a perfect B-roll. And for those that don't know what a B-roll is, it's just additional footage that would kind of play over this area as I'm talking. And then maybe it's a nice, sexy shot of like a game ticket or something. And so one thing led to another, and I've been able to stay for, years now, a little over 2 decades, something like that, right? God, has it really been that long? God, it really has been that long. It's been about 25 years now total that I've really been focused directly on doing graphic design and some illustration and other things in there, all kind of in that same zone. And I've worked for small design studios. I've done freelance for myself, and I've worked for places, big name companies. I honestly got burned out. I couldn't take it anymore. It was one of those things where the more I looked at the work I was trying to do, I was noticing that this is with complete candor, with my own efforts, I was struggling for things that I designed for my own website, just whatever. Things like typography, layout, balance, key, just all of that stuff, color theory, it was all boring to me. And I found it was leaching over into the personal projects I had, whether it was designing comic covers or whatever for myself. I was finding that I was phoning it in, and I didn't want to do it anymore. Now, that sounds kind of alarmist, so my luck, some of my clients will probably see this, but I'm not being disparaging toward them. I'm simply saying that I understood when it was time for me to move on. And so this was a decision that I'd made. And part of this little bit of insight, part of this vlog is also me keeping myself aware of what the fuck I'm actually saying and sticking to my goals, which is definitely something I wanted to do for 2023. So we'll see how this goes. But when I made that decision, it was actually last September, and it's been edging on because, projects take longer than whatever and that sort of thing. And I very much want to keep my word and get some projects finished. Not a big deal. But I did find myself looking more and more to I'm having problems like the fatigue, the wearing down of myself, everything. And especially this last year, I did breakneck speed on a multitude of shows. In fact, I'd get shows done. I'm like, I'm done for the year. 2 more would pop up, I'd be like, my God, okay, I guess I'll do those too. And I sound like I'm complaining, but I want to put something into perspective here. I'm not. I really don't feel that I am. I just know that there's a lot of times in life when I'd look at something and go, I don't want to just pursue one career. Even when I was at Hallmark, I was lucky enough that I had managed to get in on the ground floor of when they were making a massive push for a bunch of voice work, and they auditioned a ton of people, and I made the cut and I got in there, and I had some success in that, and it led to other roles and other things afterward after Hallmark. But even that I had to subside to the side, just like, okay, that was fun. And I had a few clients that I've done work for, and I do stuff like this. So I'm still very much practicing it. But I kept thinking to myself, I need to redefine what I want to do. There are stories I want to tell, other things that I'd like to pursue as an artist. And so I wanted to make sure I was focused in on that. And after so many years, something had to go, and that had to be graphic design, which of course, out of all of the things I do, is probably the most lucrative thing. And that can be painful. So to give you guys context, because I'm going to approach this the exact same way that I do with a lot of other stuff, because I think there needs to be a normalization of what we earn, what we do, and how we do things. And I'm inspired by a lot of other YouTubers out there that have been very open about how much they make doing videos, doing other stuff like that, once they get to a certain point, or how they operate on Twitch. So I'm going to start off. I have a design rate of $50. That's if I'm doing graphic design. If I'm doing illustration, that can vary depending on the size of the illustration. If it's a page of comic art, it can vary anywhere between $75 to $200 per hour, per page, things like that. For voice work, it is a steady $75 an hour. I am not part of the Voice Actors Guild, so I don't have any representation. So I'm basically somebody that just charges a fee and then provides files and does that sort of stuff. And at any point in time, you can certainly leave comments, and questions down below. If at whatever time, I will always go back and check old comments and either make video replies or reply directly in the comments. And I've always felt that it's better to be much more open about what's out there, because I get a lot of people that will come to shows that I've done, like comic shows, anime shows, and they don't know how to get into this. They don't understand what the deal is. Like, how do you get into things? What's the behind the scenes stuff like? What's all of this stuff? How do I design games? How do I get into voice acting? How do I do all this other stuff? So maybe this vlog will lend itself a little bit into that. Look at that. I'm already going at 11 minutes. So I'm going to put 4 more minutes into this and cut this first episode off. And so getting back to my whole story of how I got in there, after jumping from studio to, working for myself to another studio and back and forth and all these other things, after so many years, I just finally burned out. I just told myself I have to take one thing out. There's something I have to completely take out of the equation. And although it was the most lucrative aspect, as I'd mentioned before, it is one that I feel better about, because it's not like I'm going to stop doing it for myself and maybe the occasional project as it comes up. And I'm still going to stay in practice because I do it with all my own projects. But I wanted a wider berth to be able to experiment, try, and jump into a different horizon point. I wanted a different goal out of this. And I don't know where that's going to take me. And, completely honestly, yeah, that's scary as shit. There's no other word for it. But I also don't want to be sitting there when I'm like somebody 70 years old going, coulda, woulda, shoulda. I do honestly believe there is a point where it can be too late if we let it get to that point. And I also had some stuff that kind of shocked me here recently. So I'm always going to dabble a little bit into the personal aspects. Good friend of mine, David. Unfortunately, I saw the news that his wife had passed away just a few days ago. So first of all, may she rest in peace. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because I'm reminded, and I'm paraphrasing here, about a comment that he left, which is a truth that's often repeated when you find that someone has passed on. Take the time not only to catch up with friends, hold your loved ones, and follow those passions you have in life. I want to add to that and say, be brave enough to accept change as it comes for you. There will always be change. It's not good. It's not bad. It is what it is. Life is chaotic. You can have all the faith in the world. You can have all the nuanced views of, non-belief. Doesn't really matter. To me, neither one matters. What does matter is how I carry myself forward in life. And for a long time, I was terrified. I was insecure, scared shitless to do stuff. And for the last few years, I've really been trying my best to push forward. And I want to be able to engage with people and inspire them to be able to do the same damn thing. I know so many creative and innovative people that in some cases, they don't realize just how fucking awesome they are. So with this new year, I hope this video finds you all well. And I hope you're all out there thinking about the new and awesome things you're going to kick ass in this year with. And whether that's excelling at your job or jumping into something brand new, whatever the hell it is, kill it. Just fucking make that shit rad. God, I just dated myself right there. Fucking 80s comments. Fuck. Okay, that's the first vlog. Thanks for watching. Fuck, you know what? I never even introduced myself. I didn't. No, I was... Fuck. Hi, I'm Mario the Artisan Rogue, and this is my vlog. That's so goddamn douchey.